What's up, nerds? Welcome back. And oh, look, Teen Titans Academy is still a thing. So it would seem, for the moment at least, that DC finally read the writing on the wall, or maybe they saw one of my videos and they realized nobody cares about the Red X thing anymore. So we're just going to drop it. Because in this issue of Teen Titans Academy, never mentioned, not even hinted at. So I guess we'll never know who Red X is. And it'll probably never matter because they've forgotten about it and it doesn't matter anymore. So let's talk about what's actually happening in this particular issue because we're moving on to like some sort of new plot thread, I'm assuming. And yeah, let's just talk about it. So apparently we're starting on in this thing where the kids are going on like some sort of like swimming thing, some sort of like vacation. You can tell because they're all wearing these like vacation shirts, like the floral type of shirts or whatever. So they're on their way, they're traveling to their location. They finally get there because apparently this girl, the one that's covered up, her name is Summer. Apparently, yeah, this is where her family used to summer. And she's named Summer because her family used to love summering. So, Summer. Anyway, so we keep going. And then they're all over here, like, talking, playing in the pool and shit. And the whole time, like, Gorilla Greg, I think that's his name. Who cares? I think that he's over here talking about, like, yeah, I was named after my uncle, sort of. And they ask, what does he do? He says, world domination. So Summer says, yeah, I can feel like that. My parents worked all the time, too, which I guess is why family vacations meant so much to them. So yeah, this is where she explains, who cares? Like I said, who cares? Her name is Summer. She was named because her family likes to summer. And this is a place where they used to summer. So she says this place was like a safe haven for metahumans. They came here because the townspeople always welcomed them and treated them like the normal people they were. I don't understand why they're not here, Greg. What's changed? So he tells her, let's head into town. If the people are as friendly as you say they are, I'm sure someone will tell us why the place is so deserted. She's like, all right, you're not fooling anyone. You just want to check out that ice cream shop you saw in your brochure. He says, no, I totally want to investigate, but yeah, if we can get ice cream, that's cool. So they go into town, a small group of them go into town, and then we get this whole thing where Stitch, still trying to be just like the random humor, is like, well, gang, looks like we got another mystery on our hands because everybody's just gone from the town. Kind of reminds me of Hotel Transylvania, how like Drac just had that fake little city or like little town outside, so that way he could scare people if they ever wanted to leave or whatever. So it's kind of like that, kind of what it reminded me of. But anyway, she does this whole thing or whatever. Stitch does this thing where they transform everyone into like members of the Scooby Gang. And then we have Tress, who we've never actually ever seen before or given any reason to care about. All of a sudden, like, why am I not the cheerleader? I should be the cheerleader, and probably agreed. Anyway, so they keep going, and then they finally encounter someone, and this guy who is apparently Mr. Delamo, and Summer is like, oh, don't you recognize me? Me and my mom used to come in all the time. And so he's just kind of like, Summer? And he just tells her, like, you need to leave, get out, or whatever. And then he says, he's here. Somehow he knew to come here. So she's asking, like, Mr. Delamo, what is it? Who knew? What's happening? And he just yells, get out. And all of a sudden we see this, like, angry mob come out, literally wielding pitchforks and torches. Literally come out, surround them like, we don't want your kind around here. And they're all white. Go ahead and look at them. Every single person in this crowd is a white person. Every single goddamn one. There's no agenda here. So we keep going with that, and then all of a sudden they like start fighting back against them and everything, even though these people are literally holding pitchforks and torches. Y'all have literal superpowers and you're fighting rednecks with pitchforks and torches. So they keep fighting the rednecks and everything, and of course they have this whole bullshit in the middle where like just when they start fighting back, they seem to get like some sort of message and they all run away. And so they're like, huh, that was weird. And then we get this thing where Chupacabra calls Stitch Dollface, to which Dollface is like, Dollface? Hmm. I smell a subplot. So this is why I'm saying I'm just gonna call Stitch she, because this is obviously a girl. Now all this non-binary bullshit is gonna fall by the wayside as soon as you get into this relationship with Chupacabra. Oh, but that's right, Chupacabra's gay and in love with Batman. So none of this makes sense. So they finally find out, oh, what do you know? Greg is gone. So for some reason, Summer decides to go into the ice cream shop and get some ice cream. And they're like, oh, did you really just go in there just to get some ice cream? She's like, no, it's not for us. And she takes off. She's like, someone obviously took Greg for whatever reason, which means they probably drugged him because he's a 400-pound gorilla. Huh? All right. Which means even if he could hear us calling for him, he might not be able to respond. Again, you just said he's a 400-pound gorilla. Anyway, she says, which means we're going to have to get smarter about this. God, y'all are also insufferable. So we do this thing where, again, we're continuing with the Scooby-Doo and the gang, like, references. So they're like, oh, I know, we should split up. And Summer's like, oh, yeah, that's a good idea. To which Stitch says, and it's a good way to layer story and get in more character beats. It would be if you hadn't just said it. If you hadn't just said it like a retard, it probably would have worked. But because you just called it out like a special kid, now we all know exactly what it is you're trying to do. So they split up and they go looking for shit and everything. And then again, we get some more where Chupacabra splits up with Stitch, and then they go and they finally find like where there's a group of people. They're heading towards this one location. So they keep trying to get closer and everything. Tress is still being just annoying. And then like they decide, okay, we're gonna go ahead and go in disguise to fit in with everyone, even though she's green. Even though she literally looks like the Jolly Green Giant's daughter. They're like, oh yeah, we'll totally just sneak in, we'll fit in. And then she's having to tell her like, keep your hair tucked in, like we can't let anybody know that we're different, even though again she's wearing booty shorts and you can clearly see she has green legs. But yeah, we'll totally fit in. So they keep going, and then like I said, Chupacabra and Stitch are keep going. Chupacabra asks Stitch, like, you can't make a portal for us to go in there? Like, what is it you can do? So Stitch does this thing, and she's like, ta-da! Flowers. Cute. So they keep going, and then all of a sudden this dude comes up and literally just, like, kicks them in the face. And then that causes them to be like this, where I'm assuming they either had sex or kissed. Because they're there for some interminable amount of time, and then all of a sudden the rest, or the other two come up and they're like, hey, we need to get in there. And this is where, like I said again, Stitch, before they do whatever it was they did, Stitch asks subplot, and then at the end she's like, I do love disguises, and puts them both in these gay disguises. So we get that, and then they go into the actual meeting where we finally find out, oh, okay, so all of these people are actually being brainwashed by someone else. They're being controlled, but we don't know yet, just as yet, who. So we finally find out, oh, of course, if Greg is missing, and he was talking about his uncle earlier, for whom he's named after, whatever. Though the one that he's named after is Gorilla Grodd, of course, because his name is Gorilla Greg. So you literally just changed like the last three letters. And so we see, yeah, where it's Gorilla Grodd controlling them. And so they're like, okay, you know what? We need to try and find a way out of here. And we also need to try to find a way to find Greg. So Tress is like, oh, okay, you want to know how he got here? Why don't you just ask him? And this is where we see, like, he's with his uncle. And apparently, even though we've been given no particular reason to believe so, he's acting like a villain now, where he says, it's as you've always taught me, uncle. There is nothing you cannot accomplish if you set their minds to it. So this the other thing that's confusing here is the fact that Gorilla Grodd has him coming on as like his cohort, where he says, feast your eyes on the first regiment of the army of Grodd, which is apparently made up of a bunch of white people. And now, nephew, with you at last by my side, I shall begin this, my ultimate conquest, by taking New York City. None of this makes sense. None of this makes sense because Gorilla Grodd advocates for gorilla supremacy using gorillas. Why would he use people all of a sudden? Even if he is just mind controlling them. Why would he all of a sudden just use people? Greg, all of a sudden just turning into a villain? Seemingly, like I said, the reason why I say it's seemingly is because he's not actually a villain. This is obviously the big switcheroo where it's like, oh, he's pretending to go along with his uncle because he really wants to stop his uncle, but he thought he couldn't do it unless he personally did it. So he's going to pretend to play along, and then at some point he's going to go ahead and betray him, help his teammates because he knows that they're on the look for him because the power of friendship or whatever. So that's what's going to end up ultimately happening here. It's going to be some sort of like Gorilla Grodd story, and then they're going to take him down. That's going to be the end of it. My ultimate question, though, my biggest question, what happened to the whole Red X thing? Like I said, y'all were hyping that up for so long before you actually launched this series, and then you started out this series with that whole Red X thing. Then he finally reveals his identity to the Bat Pack, and now, well, we didn't get to see it, and now they've decided, oh, we're going to keep that secret to ourselves, and now we're just moving on to something else. So, we don't know who Red X is, we don't know where he went, we don't know what he's doing, and we don't know why. And now they've moved on to something else. So that was great. That good job, DC. That's how you sell comic books. Start a storyline and then just never finish it. Hype people up on something and then give them no payoff. So, yeah, that's what we got from this. That is the ongoing, I don't even know what to call it, the ongoing mistake that is Teen Titans Academy. That's what we have from it. And I honestly don't even really care about the team dynamic anymore. Like, that was what I was wanting, because you started out this whole academy thing of them being students to the original Titans, and then you never showed us the school dynamic. You never really showed us the Titans being teachers. And then now we have them, and then in the last issue, you had them basically graduate either from the academy or after their first year. And now we have them doing this other thing where they're already just out doing their own adventures. Like, what was the point of them being in an academy then? They never went out on any adventures with supervised guidance. Never had any, like, team building or anything. It's just, okay, we brought them together. They went to school. Now they're a team. Now they're doing things. Don't you accept that? No, because you didn't make it grow organically. So I'm not going to accept it. It's bullshit, DC. It's a terrible book. So why are you still buying it, Dylan? Because I want to. Because I can do whatever the fuck I want with my own money. And because, like I've said before, I'm not supporting the comic book company. I'm not sending them a check directly to Marvel Comics or directly to DC Comics. I'm supporting the local businesses who, unfortunately, already bought this shit. And they know how I feel about it. It's not like I mince my words with my local comic book store. They know exactly how I feel about this bullshit. So they're not buying more of it for me. They're buying it because, well, unfortunately, and I know many of us might not like to say it, other people are buying this. Yeah, they are. Some of this shit actually does sell out in my local area. I don't like that because these aren't good stories. And that's what part of the reason why I make these videos. This is one thing, I'm going off on a total non sequitur. This is why I'm saying it's not enough to just tell people, oh, it's woke garbage. Oh, that's not how the character's supposed to be. You shouldn't buy it. They're still going to buy it. You saying that you've been a fan for years and that they shouldn't buy it because you said so and because it's buying into some bullshit agenda? Guess what? That's not good enough. That's not good enough. Why should they believe you? Who are you? Who am I? Exactly. That's my point. I'm actually showing the book. I'm pointing out the parts that are bullshit, the part that doesn't work. And I'm telling them, not because I think the company needs to hear this, not because I think the company cares about what I have to say, but because there are people who are legitimately reading this because they want to know what's actually going on with these characters. And because they don't hear anybody saying anything, like pointing out any actual constructive criticism, they just hear two different tribes, one saying, oh, this is great because all the people who don't like it are evil. And then you have the other side who are saying, oh, well, I've been a fan my whole life, and this is woke garbage that you shouldn't be reading. Why should they believe either of you? On one side, they're the people trying to sell this, so they're very obviously trying to sell the product. On the other side, you're someone who doesn't actually know what's going on here. You're just going off of what you hear from other people. You're literally going off of third and fourth sources. Like, that's where you're getting your information from, and you're going off of it. Well, guess what? Here's your first source. Here's the person who actually bought the book, who actually read it, who actually showed it to you, and actually pointed out the problems. I'm not saying you have to agree with me. I'm fine if you don't. You can disagree with me if you want. But the thing is, don't ever let it be said that you didn't hear a dissenting opinion, because here's one right here. So I think that's probably going to do it for me. I could probably go on about this even longer, but I'm not going to do that. So if you're actually keeping up with this, do feel free to let me know what you think about it down in the comments below. And if you enjoyed the video, then definitely like the video. Make sure you're subscribed and all of that. If you didn't like the video, well, I mean, hey, I'm surprised that you stayed watching till this part, and I'm proud of you for doing so. So thank you. I do mean that sincerely. But if you are done here, whether you liked the video or not, then go and read a book. And if not, then I'll see you on my next video.